Good evening. Hey, JVB. Nice to see you. I can't wait either. Hey, Mats. I hope everyone's had a good weekend and that you're enjoying this week so far. I mean, it's only been one day, but in the end, if you really enjoy just now, it doesn't really matter if it's the beginning, end, or whatever day of the week it is. It is just like, you forget about those things. Hey, Jethro, nice to see you. I've had a really good time. We celebrated my daughter's 6 years birthday, and it's as a parent, it's so interesting because I remember when I was a kid, my parents would also say stuff like that. Oh, you were so small, and we remember when you were so baby, and I'm big now. I'm not a baby anymore, and now it's like, oh, I remember now, like 6:40. I think 6:47 in the morning she was born, and I still remember when she came out and how tiny she was. Pitty mini. And then they grow up, and now they're like big and running around, and they have opinions, and they jump and shout and scream and yell and run around and have fun with things, and it's incredible to see them grow up. It's something that you just, until you're a parent, it's very difficult to see, understand just how special it is to see your own child grow up like that. Hey, Nadia. Nice to see you as well. It's a lot of work, though. And I was just talking last week with some colleagues at work, because we sit around the kitchen table, and when we eat, we have several kitchen tables, but when we were eating, and there was some younger guys there, I think they were like 25, 30 or something, and they didn't have kids. So we were talking, I was saying like, oh my goodness, my son is so difficult right now, it's really wearing on me. And they were saying like, oh my goodness, we're never gonna have kids, this sounds terrible. Like, who does that? Like, why would you have kids? That sounds like a really bad idea. And if you just focus on the bad things, then yes, it is a bad idea, but there's just so much more to it. And from a perspective of practicing, oh my goodness. If you haven't had a chance to watch your ego kind of have to take a step back and get like behind someone else who's much more important than you, then wait until you get kids, because you don't matter at all in comparison to their will. Like they want what they want, and like if you're tired, like it doesn't matter. Like I want it now. I want to do this now. I want to play. If you're tired, like you can sleep some other time. We're supposed to do this now. So it really is I've heard people say that before, like kids are the best practice, and there is a good point to that. There is more to it than just practicing with kids, absolutely. But kids are a really, really good practice to have. It's good for your practice to have kids, is what I mean. What about you? I know some of you had kids. Or have you thought about having kids, or does it scare you when you think about things like this? Have you ever thought about the positive aspects, as I said, from a practice perspective? Because there is something about having someone who is not separated from you. Like everyone else you have, even your parents. I mean, your parents are special, but your child is just they're someone who's like who come from you. It's magic, basically. Like two people come together and they're like, there's another human being. There's no other way we can make human beings except for that. So that is kind of magic when you think about it. And people also talk about that. Yeah, it's incredible. We created this, and everyone does it. Yeah, but when you really do it, there's something beautiful about seeing like a human being, and then you're kind of raising them, and then you worry about what's going to happen if something goes wrong and they don't, or we do something wrong, we're too strict, or we're not strict enough. I mean, that's a big problem as well. Or how are you supposed to raise them? What are you supposed to do? And no one really gives you a manual. Well, there's loads of manuals, but you don't know which one is the right manual. So it's difficult to not mess up. I think I heard some psychiatrist one time say that like all families are dysfunctional. It's just a matter of how much. So I guess in the end we just need to try to make our family as less dysfunctional, have as little dysfunction as possible. And then we did a good job if we did that. And really practicing yourself, seriously, like I say this so much, just focus on enjoying. If you have a kid who's screaming and you have to focus on enjoying, the self is going to go, no, you can't enjoy now. What do you like? He or she is being like annoying. They're not supposed to do this. But if you still learn to appreciate the moment, what's happening around you, your senses, even though it's difficult. I mean, and we're not talking about torture here, even though in the middle of the night it can feel like torture. It's like really things that we can overcome. Let's see, Nadia. Having a child has been a test of patience. Oh, yes, patience, for sure. And worry. But also healing. I've learned so much. My mother-in-law, she says that after I got a child, I've never stopped worrying. And I can see that. Like you'll never, it doesn't matter if your child is 25, 30, 40, you're probably still going to worry about, like, are they okay? Because you have that part of you that's just invested in their well-being. Hey, Mindful Mama. Nadia, I feel like she is my heart walking around outside of my body. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, it is. It's really fragile and like they run around. We were in town picking up cake, and my daughter was running up and down, and there were cars. I'm like, okay, we don't play here. I said, there's cars. It's like, I'm not playing. I'm just running. And then, yeah, but if there's a car, like, just please hold Daddy's hand, like you used to do that. And I used to say, my birthday present every year, I said, like, my birthday present, what I want from you is that we never stop cuddling, because we always huggle in the morning. And she said this morning she really came down and she cuddled up in bed with me, and she said, Papa, like, who said that you couldn't cuddle when I grow up? We can still cuddle. I promise we're going to keep on doing that. Like, oh, yeah. Mats, I don't think I'll ever feel ready to have children. So one day I'll either fall in love with someone who makes me want to YOLO. It won't happen. You know what? I never felt like I was like, well, I always wanted to have kids, but I never felt ready for it until I still remember the moment when I said, oh, I want to have kids. And it was after my father had passed away, and we were at my mother's place, and I was out walking with her dog, and I was walking, and it was Christmas time, and I think there was snow, if I remember correctly, and I still remember the area approximately. I looked into a house, and there were some kids running around, and they were like putting up some kind of star in the window, and I just stopped, and I just looked into the window, and I just stood there. A bit creepy maybe, but I just looked at them like, I want a family. Because my father just passed away, and then that was the moment when, like, yeah, that I want to have a family as well. And so I spoke to my fiance, and she said YOLO, kind of. No, she had also been thinking about it, but yeah, it really, when it's time for it, it will come, or it just happens. I mean, sometimes it does just happen. I mean, it does. And I think you're never really ready for it. There's never going to be a perfect time. There's always going to be things that come in the way. Jethro, same here. Same. I have enough trouble parenting myself. You know what? You never grow up until you become a parent. I mean, I'm convinced of this. Until you have children of your own, you're always going to be a child. And, like, at least I don't see how you can really become an adult really until you have kids. Well, you can be an adult, of course. Maybe that's too narrow-minded. But there is something that happens when you have children, and you all of a sudden have to take on the leader role and, like, be like the head of a family, mother or father. And yeah, I haven't really felt as an adult. This is the first time I kind of feel like, yeah, I'm an adult. Like, I'm tired. I don't get to sleep. I have kids running around. My job is to make sure they don't kill each other. And hopefully we can have some fun along the way. So I do feel like an adult. JVV, how old are your mini Martins? I have a mini Martin who's 2.5, and he's like a whirlwind. And then I have a mini, a mini female version of me who just turned 6. So they're kind of small, considering I'm 46, and most of my classmates, they have kids who are in their 20s. It's insane, like crazy. But I'm very happy that I took the time to take myself out of society and fix myself before I actually got kids. So now I feel, even though I am older and I don't have the same kind of energy to run around as I would have if I would have been younger, I still am very happy that I waited until now. And I think the worst thing you can do, absolutely worst thing you can do, is to get kids to fix a relationship. That is a terrible idea. Never do that, ever. Oh my goodness. Get a house instead. I mean, or just a car, a dog, like something small, like that you can get rid of. A child you can never get rid of. Nadia, your daughter sounds adorable. She is very adorable. She is so sweet. She's a very kind person, and it's difficult when you're too hard on her. But like she's a child, you know. And then they just do childish stuff, and it's easy to forget because she's so good in talking. Also, we can have a conversation. Actually, we live in Sweden, right? But we speak English in our household. So we always speak English with each other. It feels strange for me to speak Swedish with my daughter because, well, we just speak English. It's kind of like, okay, we're making it up. Like it just doesn't sound natural. So we speak English, and then she speaks Swedish at daycare completely fluently, and then she speaks Dutch with her mother. When her mother is angry, I usually say, and her grandparents, and she watches some TV in Dutch also. So she's fluent in all those 3 languages. And then it's easy to forget that she's just 6 years old, and she's just really intelligent, but she is still a child. Yeah, and it is easy to forget that sometimes. Talk about ego and having kids just to save a relationship. Yeah, I mean, I'm not joking. That's a common thing. I know plenty of people who have done that because it's kind of, we're missing something. I mean, there is something that when you get kids, it changes everything. And I'm sure there are times when it happens, when it kind of works out. Actually, no, one case. No, they got a kid by accident. 2 kids. They got twins by accident. Oof. But, yeah, it does change your relationships. I can see how someone like, oh yeah, okay, now we're going to tie ourselves together. We're going to become a family. We just need like a center point to have. But it's going to test your relationship in every single way you can imagine. Like, now thinking back, can you imagine? I had to talk to my fiance sometime. When we woke up in the morning and it was weekend and it was just quiet and we could just lay and cuddle in bed or like light a fire and watch a movie. Just go around in our pajamas all day and like not really do anything. Just be lazy and take a bath, go out for a walk. Just sit and drink tea and maybe bake something. Yeah, let's bake something just for fun and the quietness and just the calmness. That's long gone. But then you have kids running around, jumping, laughing, and it's fun, and there's like all this joy, and Christmas all of a sudden is Christmas again. It's not just a holiday for buying stuff. It's really something special with Christmas, and I was Santa for some neighbors, and a neighbor was Santa for us. And I walked over there, I had my Santa, and I said like, oh, I got the wrong house. I'm supposed to go to Ella and Alfred. And they're like, oh, that's not us. But have you been good? And I was pretending I was looking at my book, and I asked them, oh my goodness, kids are so adorable, and it's so amazing to really look. And you get I often talk about enjoying, no matter what happens, like just enjoying being here. And kids are amazing at that. You can see that childish euphoria, just happiness bubbling in there. It takes so little for them to get going. I think this Christmas, the best Christmas present for my kids was none of the gifts they got. The thing that they played with the most was a big box that they would get inside, and there was plastic, and they could, like, you're not supposed to be inside, like one of those big IKEA boxes, and they would get inside, and they said, Mama, cover it, and they covered it, and they were rocking it, and like pretending they were sleeping. It's like just being kids, just having fun. Like, we don't have to do anything, and today we're gonna go to bed. Like, and my daughter doesn't want it to end because it's her birthday, and it's like, yeah. Mindful Mama, since I got children, I understand and respect people who choose not to have children. It's just not for everyone. Yeah, I always used to say like, oh, how can you not have kids? That's crazy. Of course you have to have kids. It's your duty as a human being. You should have kids. And I'm like, no. I know plenty of people who should not have gotten kids. They would have been happier. Maybe even the world would have been better. If they would have waited until they were ready for it, who knows? But if you have kids, you should be able to provide a safe, loving home for them as much as you're able to do. Like, there are limits, and one of the things that's so easy to do is to forget that we as parents have limits. I have a really good patience most of the time, but when my brain fog starts coming from my burnout, when I haven't slept for a long time, then I can't handle it. It's just too much. Then things are difficult. And as parents, you constantly get pushed to the edge, and kids kind of figure that out. Like, oh, we can push them this far. If you go over there, they're going to get really angry and we don't get anything. But we're going to push them just up to the edge so we can see what we can get, what we can do. They're perfect at that. So you really have to work with your own sense of stability, of just being here and calm and setting limit and boundaries. So yeah, kids are the best teachers. Andreas' story. A couple went to a marriage counselor. The man wanted to get a dog and the woman a child. The counselor asked which one they should choose. Then he said, my sister said for 34 years that she never ever wants kids. Now the second one is on the way. It was really crazy to see her change her mind that drastically and enjoy motherhood, kind of unsettling. Oh, sorry, that was two different ones. Yeah, Mats. And then Andreas, do you want to have problems with a wet doormat or problems for the rest of your life? Exactly, Andreas. That's the thing. It's like you can't get rid of your kids. They're always going to, and you might disavow them, and but they're still going to be your kids. I know families where like there have been schisms and then they're just very far away from each other, but it's still your kid. It will always be. And like you said, Mats, I also know people who say like, oh, I'm never going to have kids. Never going to have kids. And then they meet someone and that kind of thing inside of you that goes, oh, I want to start a family. Like, I want to have a family with this person. It's just very natural. And I think that's a good time to get kids. Not when the relationship is in shambles and like, okay, we need to fix this. Let's get a dog. No, even better, let's get a child. That's like when it's a bad timing. So, yeah, children are wonderful. Great idea. It'll be fun. And it will also be absolutely terrible in so many ways. But in the end, I heard some research that said that people who have kids are unhappier until the kids are 18 and move out. Then they are happier than the people who choose not to have kids. They will be less happy when they get older. And I think there is something you get to live through your children. You get to experience youth a second time because you get to play and see like, oh, look at this thing, what's this? And you pretend, and you if you're willing to play with them, like, which is like the whole point, I think, with kids, to be able to open up that child part of yourself to enjoy life the way that a child can, and they can really help with that. So just fantasizing, running around, being silly and playing games, and yeah, just doing kid stuff. It makes you feel younger for sure, but it also wears on you, and it definitely wears on you. Okay. Do you teach your kids meditation? Yeah, they meditate with me sometimes. Not that there was... My daughter used to do it much more before because I would sit in the mornings, but now we're just so tired in the mornings that we don't have time to do that in the way we did before. But she's really into meditation and yoga. My son, my fiance is a yoga teacher, and when she goes to work, he's like, yoga, and he does like these poses, like stretches out, and he pretends he's doing yoga. And they have a show they're watching on TV, Yoga met Roos, which is like a kids program for yoga. It's really sweet. It's in Dutch. So yeah. Oh, I have a timer. Let's sit. Monday we have guided meditations for day. For those of you who are new, we start with a little chat. Today was apparently kids topic. I have very little idea what I say during these moments, so it's like if you mention something, then I'll kind of spin off of that. So if you have something or you think like, okay, he's just like off on a tangent that's completely uninteresting, feel free to just drop comments and guide me in whatever direction you want the conversation to go. It is kind of one-sided since I'm here and you're just typing, but it's still a way to have input. So we have a little chat before. After that, we sit for 20 minutes. Today is Monday, so it'll be guided meditation. Actually, before the guided meditation, we will do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a method where we focus on 5 things that we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things that we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. And the whole idea for this exercise is that we're trying to see the world through the lens of a child. I mean, that's a good perspective to have when you do this practice today. Think of how a child watches something. So we say out aloud 5 things that we can see. And if I would have been a child, and I'm talking like a really small child who doesn't have concepts and ideas and structures of what things are, they don't see, like, I can see this one, and I know that this is a remote, right? Like, we all know, very likely, that this is a remote, and we know the plus and minus. What do you think they mean? Very likely that will make it warmer and that colder, or maybe it makes it colder and warm. No, very likely warmer and colder. And there's some like lines here, and we know that those are letters, and we also know that if you put them in special order, they make words, and words are things that mean things. So we can see that this says mode. Well, very likely you can cool or so. There's a F-A-N, so that's fan. That's probably how much it's blow. In other words, when we see an object, we don't just see this object from the raw input view. We see the concepts and ideas and feelings that we have created. So when we look at a plus, that makes you feel something. And when you look at a minus, that makes you feel something else. Like there's a pressure towards this, and one makes you feel comfortable. That doesn't look very comfortable. One makes you feel uncomfortable, and one makes you feel comfortable. A child doesn't have that yet. He will just look at this and he says, "Whoa! Look at the reflections. Can you see? There's a honeycomb on one of the lamps, and I can see that. Ooh, and there's something here that's shiny, and I can see through it sometimes, but sometimes I cannot see through it. Well, that's really interesting. And I wonder what it tastes like. Yeah, everything has to go in the mouth and taste. And they will see they see like, oh, this here for us, this is like a brown spot. I need to clean it. For them, it's like, whoa, is that supposed to be? I mean, they don't think it's not supposed to be there because they don't really understand what's supposed to be there or not. They don't understand this is a logo. It's just a silvery circle with those strange lines that keep showing up everywhere. And for them, they don't see the way that we see. So that's really the way of looking and using our senses that we're after. Again, it's not that you become an idiot and you don't understand what it is. I still understand that this is a remote control, and I still understand that if I press here, they would change how this thing works. But there's a feeling behind that is inherently uncomfortable, which is why if you study Buddhism, you know that the Buddha said that everything is suffering. And that sounds so pessimistic if you use the word suffering. But if you use the word dukkha, which was what at least the closest we know to what the Buddha said. There might have been translations before that, but dukkha was a word that meant if you had a wheel and the axle in the wheel had sand in it, it would go something that's not flowing smoothly, compared to sukha, where the wheel flows smoothly. So actually what the Buddha said was that everything is a wheel that's not running smoothly. Now if you take that and you think of how we view this, all of a sudden it makes sense, because we're not seeing just what this is. As a child would be fascinated by this. It would look at it and it would do the reflections and it would throw it up in the air and see if it would break. I wouldn't understand that. I'd just see what happens. Oh, look at this, I can do this stuff. Actually, they probably wouldn't do that because they can't control their arms and motor functions yet. But they would very likely throw it. I can almost promise you that. So that's the way of interacting with the world that we're after. It really is much more similar to how a child does this. That doesn't mean that a child is completely free of distortions. It's very easy to see if you see a child who's sad when they don't get to have their mother's titty in their mouth. Like they have things that they distort towards. It's just they have so much less than we do. They just haven't developed the kind of parameters that control us from our parents saying you should, shouldn't, society saying you should, shouldn't, you're not supposed to do that, or you have to do that. If you don't, something bad is going to happen, and you don't want to look like this, you should look like that. All those things change how we distort towards the world around you. Wow, that was a really long-winded way of just saying I'm looking at it at remote. But you get my point, right? Let's go to the next one. I've seen a lot of things here. I've seen shapes and colors and stuff. So hopefully you've seen 5 things around you as well. And the whole idea is, as I said, to just look at these things and really look without interpreting. I'm sure there was 5 things that I could see. 4 things that I can feel. Here we go again. It's the same thing. We're just feeling. We're not trying to feel, oh, I know this is plastic. I know it's bare glass. No, we're just trying to feel, what does it feel like, the sensory input when I'm running my finger down my glasses. And there's a relaxedness that we're looking for. We're not trying to squeeze up, and we're not trying to experience anything. If you're trying to experience that joy that comes from just, oh, well, look, this is incredible. Really, when you're in a non-centric state and you touch yourself like this, it's so much sensation. I just didn't know. Now it's like, I've done this a gazillion times. It doesn't mean anything. But if you really do that, it's like when you see a child, if you do that on a baby, they will go, what's happening? I feel something here. Something's moving. Wow. And they just, it's the same thing. You just feel it. And you can't make that happen. You can't squeeze yourself into that experience. It's more that you relax and you realize that you're doing something that's getting in the way of you being able to experience what it's really like to just feel this. So it's not that you get to the kingdom of heaven somewhere else, it's that the kingdom of heaven is here, if you want to use that term. It really is. This world is extraordinarily exquisite and beautiful in its sheer just awesomeness, just being, when we as a separate entity gets out of the way. Not by trying to convince yourself that you don't exist or there's no boundaries. Obviously this is my hand, and obviously I know that, like, this is a wound, and if I start poking here it's gonna hurt, it's gonna make that crack. So we can still understand things. We're not trying to say nothing means anything or nothing has any purpose. Well, the problem is that's also true in a way, but it doesn't mean we don't understand that things go in that direction. We'll talk more about that later sometime. Problem with focus? Oh yeah, I see it. Maybe I'm getting too out of focus with my... Let me just see if I have this set. I'm trying to do this reverse. Nope. No, that's one thing that's usually off. But okay, I don't actually know. We'll just close our eyes soon, and then it won't matter. There we go. I'm back a little bit. I think that was a few things that I could feel. I'm really not focused today. Nothing isn't nothing. It's no thing. Yeah. So what did I do? Those things, feel something else. Let's feel the warmth of my cup. Same here. Warmth. What does that feel like? What does it feel like to feel your hands sliding over a smooth cup? And especially if you have hand lotion on. My hands are so dry. What does that feel like? And really be interested in your senses. You're not going to get to that way of experiencing the world by trying to force it. It really is. The problem is this, that we see liberation, or this seeing the world this clearly, we see it as kind of a reward. Like you do something really hard and you suffer. The Buddha sat underneath a tree and he said, I'm going to sit down underneath this tree until I'm enlightened or I die. Yeah, let's do it. That's so far away from anything that's remotely realistic when it comes to letting go of the self. There's a story there that makes a good story for motivation, but it doesn't make any sense from the idea of letting go of the sense of self. So, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so we can't force ourselves to experience the world as beautiful as it is when we're not having a sense of self there. It's more something that happens when we relax and we don't fight the world. We don't try to make the world be anything, which is why when we do the breathing meditation, we don't try to make the breath do anything. We're trying to get out of the way and make the breath just do whatever it wants to do. So, sorry, it's getting a little bit late. And we haven't even started meditating yet. 3 things that we can hear. It's my fault, by the way, it's not yours. It's me, it's not you. That's why we're breaking up. I can hear 3 things. And same here, we're not trying to, it's not about what we hear, we're trying to just be interested in the sound and nuances within the sound. So I hear a fan, and there's a kind of a metallic ringing almost to the fan. It's like it's not grinding, but there's metal against metal I can hear. I hear another lower pitch sound. It's like, and it would be a very strange cat. But more likely it's the fan of one of my lamps. And I can hear our hens. Our hens refuse to sleep in the hen house. I want to sit out here, outside my office. That was 3 things that I could hear. 2 things that I can smell. And again, for you as well, just say them out loud, whatever you feel or smell around you. So I can smell soap because I just took a shower. There's a musky smell of some kind. I'm not sure what that is. Also, when I say that there's a musky smell, I notice that my face is doing like, what is that? Because we're so used to communicating by showing distortion on our face. Like, what is that? That's also tension. Instead of just being open and sensing, there's a scent I don't recognize. Do I need to feel uncomfortable because of that? Why am I uncomfortable by not knowing? It's perfectly fine that I don't know what that smell is coming from. But we have these things. That's when, like, people see it as their drive somehow, that they have this like strong thing inside of them. Like when they get going and they're going to do something, they go through mountains. I used to say I was like a laser. I'd split a mountain. I'm going to do it and I'm going to get there. And I thought that was something positive until I burned out. And especially until I started practicing the way I do now. And I started to realize, like, wait a minute. I'm basically just kind of taking a lighter and like holding it under my ass and like hurting myself so to make myself run, which is like, it's not really a smart idea. You are gonna run, but you're holding the lighter and you're the one like scorching your bum, so it's not really a smart thing to do. There are better ways of doing things, and very likely they would make you feel better. And do you really need to run? I mean, the light is like, you can just let go of the lighter. So finally, one thing that we can taste. I can taste garlic. So I want you to start focusing your awareness on your breath. And just bring your awareness to your breath wherever that may be happening, and just rest it there and start sensing what it's like to breathe. And I want to point out that even though it sounds a bit cliche, this is a safe space. I mean, it's open for everyone, but it really is a safe place. Whoever you are that's coming here, you come here for a reason. Very likely because whatever you saw in the videos that you watch, or whatever you see in the people who are here and hanging out, is a group of people you enjoy being with. So I want you to feel that you are safe here. This is a place where you can say what you want. You can share your struggles or ups and downs. And when we meditate, also realize that there's not really any way you can fail at this. There's nothing you can do completely wrong that will ruin anything or make it bad. Sure, sometimes meditation can be difficult, but that's one of the reasons you're sitting here with me, because you can ask questions and we can help you out of that if you happen to get into something that feels difficult. So there's nothing to worry about. And I also want you to trust yourself. If you feel that we're doing something that you don't feel comfortable with, sometimes we do Kapilavathi, I think it's called, a faster breathing. Some people don't feel comfortable with that. Then trust yourself. Don't trust me. You know yourself much better than I do. And don't do it. If you feel that it's uncomfortable to sit with your eyes closed and it makes you anxious, open them. Stand up. Maybe do some walking meditation. But really, I want you to not just come here to listen to someone who will tell you exactly how things work and what to do. I want you to come here to gain the self-confidence so that you can do this by yourself. So that when you get up from the cushion and you start moving around in the world, you feel like you're enjoying being you more than you did before. And one of the best ways to do that is to trust yourself. To feel that it's okay to be you. And the first step towards that is to just observe your breath, smiling. I mean, don't do a fake smile, but just enjoy feeling your breath. Just start noticing what it feels like when breath is moving in, and breath is moving out, and breath is moving in, and breath is moving out, and get comfortable with it. It's something that you've been doing since the day that you were born. You have been breathing, and you will continue to do so until you stop breathing, and then you stop existing. What happens after that? I have absolutely no idea. And whoever you ask will just tell you what they believe, but they won't be able to be more truthful than anyone else. Because we simply cannot know. And it's the same with what happens before we came here. We don't know. Why create arguments and start fighting with people over something that we simply cannot know? And if we did know, what would that change? Just enjoy being here, observing your breath, feeling that it's okay to be you. It's okay to not be perfect when you're trying to focus on your breath. It's okay to feel your mind slipping, drifting away. We're not trying to stop our mind. We're trying to observe our breath. And the best way to get better at that, actually the indicator that shows if you are a good meditator, is how easy or how many times you're able to bring your awareness back to your breath after you've drifted off into thoughts. Not that you might have a sitting where you don't have any thoughts or very few thoughts. That's more or less irrelevant in the whole scheme of things. So to make it a little bit easier to focus on your breath, I want you to do this little exercise with me where we count our breaths from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1. And I will do it with you once, and then you can do it by yourself. And after that, I'll come in along the way and give you some pointers. So breathing in, breathing out. 1. Breathing in, breathing out. 2. Breathing in, breathing out. 3. Breathing in, breathing out. 4. Breathing in, breathing out. 5. Breathing in, breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 8. Continue smiling and breathe in and out. 7. Breathing in, breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 5. Breathing in, breathing out. 4. Breathing in, breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 1. And continue counting your breaths from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1 as you breathe in and out. 1. In and out. When you observe the breath, you indirectly also observe your thoughts. Because as you observe your breath, you'll notice, hey, wait a minute. How come I'm lost in thought? I was supposed to observe my breath. The purpose is not to stop our thoughts. Thoughts are a natural occurrence. They just happen. What we're trying to do is create a space between our thoughts and what feels like us, so that we're not fully identified, not fully disappeared into our thoughts. Instead, they're just something buzzing around in the background. Even when you're in what I call non-centric state or non-dual state, there are still thoughts. I can still think, I am going to go outside and I'm going to put on shoes because it's cold, and a jacket because it's cold. I can still think that thought, but it doesn't have any weight. There is no sense of realness or feeling that you need to suffer from the thought just because you're having it in your mind. It is just a thought. So by coming back to your breath over and over, you will keep on breaking that pattern again, 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 and again. And this is not something that you master and then it will be easy. This is something that you will keep on doing for the rest of your life, as long as you're meditating. You will need to keep on breaking that cycle of the thought where you want to disappear into it. It will get easier and it will get lighter, and thoughts will change how they feel. They will no longer be as solid. They will no longer be something that feels real. They will just be something that's buzzing around in the background. So if you want to measure if you're progressing or not in your meditation, don't use the stillness of your mind as your measurement. Instead, measure how many times you lose awareness of your breath. The more times that you notice that you drifted away into thoughts, or that you notice that you're focusing on something else because it's more interesting, the more you're going to develop what's called stickiness of the mind, or concentration, or samadhi, which means that the mind awareness simply sticks to whatever object of meditation is with very little effort. And that comes from coming back over and over and over again without judgment, without criticism, with no evaluation or comparison, just simply doing the motion of coming back over and over again. And to make it even more efficient, remember to focus on enjoying. This is supposed to be fun. If you are struggling, if there is strong distortion because you're trying so hard to focus on your breath, giving it your all, then you're doing something wrong. That's not what we're supposed to do. There might be other techniques that tell you to do that, but that's not what we're trying to achieve here. Instead, I would say that it's more important that you focus on enjoying sitting than actually doing the meditation, because ultimately the meditation is meant to help you enjoy. And as always, observe your breath as you're breathing in and out. 1, in and out. You're welcome to keep on sitting if you want to, or have a cup of tea with me. Have any questions? Feel free to ask them, or any thoughts that you've been pondering. Jack, it's always a pleasure to be here. It's nice to have you here, Jack. I haven't seen you for a little while. Too busy observing the northern lights. Actually, we haven't had much northern light yet. It was so much earlier this year, but now it's been calm for a while. I mean, earlier last year. Late in last... You know what I mean. I keep going out of focus. I don't understand. This camera is supposed to have a function where it like sees my eyes, but oh, maybe it's when I close my eyes actually and meditate. Could be. Jack, my dog died yesterday. York was 17 years old. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I've never had a dog. I've had cats, and I know that when they passed away, it's just like a family member, because they're such a big part of the family that it's difficult when they pass away. Again, sorry. Had he been with you the whole time, or was it someone who you adopted along the way? Is 17 years old for a dog? I think it is, right? But I'm not actually sure. For a cat, it's pretty old. Had him since crib, yeah. It's nice. Yorkshire Terrier. I think I know which one that is. My parents had they call them dvärgschnauzer. Mini schnauzer, maybe? Small good for rat hunt. We should have some here around our house that chase mice. After we get chickens, I mean hens, we've had more mice than normally. There's a lot of mice when you have chickens. It's like everyone's pretty calm today. It's nice. I hope you enjoy. Oh, let's see. Jethro. Sometimes when I go deeper during a sit, a feeling of calm persists for several hours afterwards. Relaxation, but also everything feels more alive and tactile, more cozy. Is this normal? That is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm saying that there is a different way of experiencing the world. That's what it feels like when you're somewhat non-centric. So non-centric means that there's not a strong sense of self pushing against everything around you. So what you're experiencing, that's where we're moving towards. Because when there's not a strong sense of self, you feel relaxed, you feel calm. There's always the feeling, I need to do something. I have to do something, even though it might not be that hectic. There's this feeling you need to do something to get this distortion away from you. And then when you meditate and what you call going deeper, sometimes you just release all of that. It doesn't have to be deeper necessarily, but sometimes you just let go of it. I get it many times when I'm lying in my bed and there's sunlight coming in through the window. And I'm lying and I'm bathed in sunlight. I'm just lying there. Oh, this is comfortable. That tends to kind of wiggle me into that kind of way of experiencing the world. So that is very normal, and it's, pretty much what we're aiming to make ourselves experience more of. Mats, sorry to hear that, Jack. My grandma used to breed Yorkshire Terriers. She had 12 dogs running around her house at one point. Wow. That's a lot of dogs. I know cat ladies, but dog ladies also. We saw, there's such a funny movie called Pets, The Secret Lives of Pets, that we watched with the kids, and there's a cat lady there, and she has like a whole apartment full of cats. And then there's another cat from the outside who comes in and tries to infiltrate them, and they're gonna, like, they're really mean cats, and they're gonna get her, but then they do a trick with the laser, and she catches the laser, and they go, oh, she's the chosen one, she caught the laser. Cats are so funny with lasers. Sorry. Jack, I am tailing a lot more of work of time now to keep up with the bills and getting the house going. So I try to jump to the meditation section as often as I can. But I am not a master of my own time. The most free time I have is on weekends and afternoons. So yeah, it's like this sometimes. And that's okay. I mean, we join whenever we can. It's I've been doing interviews with people for the upcoming course. And when I speak to some people, it's like we're a little family. We're like a little group of people who just, I think we're just like-minded in many ways. And then people go away for a while, and then they come back, and then they get something come in the way, and they come back. You're always welcome to come back, even if you're gone for half a year. I don't see myself stopping to do this. Might be that I'll eventually in the future turn it down so it's just once per week, and I'll be doing something else with a community of some kind. But you're always going to be welcome back. Nice. I think maybe it's bedtime. What do you think? Is it bedtime? I think so. I'm going to go and dream of food, cooking food. I'm going to make something delicious this week, something fun. I like finding recipes and doing yummy stuff. It's incredible that you can make food at home that is so good if you just follow a recipe and don't try to come up with stuff yourself too much. And then when you know how to do it, then you can come up. Let's see, Jethro has the last question here. Thanks for your answer to my question, by the way. It's useful to get feedback. Some traditions and teachings seem scared to discuss results of meditation and just say sit more. There is value in having that approach because what they want to get rid of is the striving, this feeling I'm not okay here, I'm going to get over there, and then I'm going to get better, instead of, because that creates the distortion. But it's also useful, I believe, to understand what we're trying to do. And for me, this is really, really clear, because this is how, since I really started having strong experiences, like 2010, I think it was the year after I was ordained, or just after the first few months, it's really been leading towards this sense of self disappearing. And it's not just, it's you just making it up in your mind, or you really, no, this is like a tangible thing where I feel that the perspective, I can no longer sit here and feel like I'm watching there. Like, I don't feel the perspective. And if you would watch that, Jethro, when you had that experience, you'll see that there's not that feeling of separation. So it leads towards a point where there's less distortion, and it would make sense that at one point distortion just disappears. I also know what it feels like to go around and walk with strong states of non-centeredness, and the world is joyous. It's beautiful just the way it is. It really is so much easier to enjoy the world when you're not there trying to ruin your experience the whole time. Let's see. Mats, I'm heading out to watch some Stargate. Nice. Have a good night, I mean. You too, Mats. No, I have a question. Go ahead, JVB, a quick one. How is it possible to experience things and your own personal experiences without rationalizing, intellectualizing them, and just be? So, this is actually a really good question, JVB. I mean, you always have good questions, but this is a good one. Because what does be mean? You can't really do this. And this is why I talk of distortions, because it's not like you can actually do this. You can't kind of, I can do this. I'm going to drink this, I'm going to get it there. So very clear, cup to the lips, and then I drink. That's easy to see. But when we're talking about observing, just looking at this and seeing, what I'm trying to do is give you kind of hints and pointers. I'm telling you, like, we know this is a hand. Don't go the route of non-duality where you're like, oh, nothing exists, like separate from anything else. We're all one, so like you don't actually exist. I mean, obviously you exist. You're there. Kind of, I can't see where you are. So like, there's some kind of separation. But the feeling of separation is an illusion. The feeling that we are separate, that is completely not true, because that drops away when you're in these states. So what I'm trying to do is show you how to use your senses in such a way that you won't be doing, without rationalizing, intellectualizing them, and just be. And actually intellectualizing in a way is nothing wrong, because if you have arsenic in a bowl in front of you, you should be intellectualizing. Maybe not, that's not intellectualizing, but you should understand that you should not be eating that arsenic with a spoon, because that will kill you. So it's not that we become dumb and don't understand our surroundings, it's that we don't feel the distortion towards it. It would be the comparison of what would be difficult. So, say you're scared of spiders. I used to be deathly scared of spiders. I still don't like spiders, but I don't have arachnophobia like I did before. If there would have been a spider here, and it would have been when I was a teenager, I would have gone, "Ah!" Like I would have screamed like a girl and just been completely like, oh my goodness, there's a spider, like I don't know what to do. If it would have been now, I would have gone into like, okay, I have this cup, I'm going to capture it. Or I would have taken my blanket or something and squished it, or like tried to get rid of it. When I saw the spider and I was a teenager, I went, super strong distortion. When I see it now, there's not a strong sense of distortion, and I can take action without the sense of self coming in, going like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna die. It's the same thing when you're then having conversations with someone who's a friend, and you're not going into that conversation with, do they like me, do they not like me, I want something from them, can they feel I want something from, and there's all this worry, and it's another human being. It's just an easy conversation. It's like when I'm sitting here, I remember when I started out, there was more distortion then, because I was not used to it, and I was like getting comfortable with just sitting like this. Now I just feel completely at ease. I don't even know what I'm talking about, and I don't feel like I can do anything wrong. Obviously I can say a lot of dumb shit, but I don't have the feeling like, oh, what's going to happen if I say something wrong? Maybe will they not love me? Will they not think I'm like worthy of coming to listen to it? Like, that's fine. And it's not that I don't care and like you guys are just idiots and I don't know. I mean that there's a sense of trust and just acceptance of what is, and that I'll just do my best, and that will have to be enough. Not I will do my best and I'm gonna go and study after this sitting, and I'm gonna read, and next time someone asks me questions I'm gonna have all the answers. Like, that's when the distortion sets in. P.S. The light behind your head is what is throwing the autofocus off. Oh really? Which one? That one? Or that one down there? It's sort of meditating with your eyes open. Yeah, in a way, JVB. And it's why I always say that the meditation is just a small part. It's not the main thing. The main thing is actually the application afterwards. Okay, I feel like I need to go to bed. I need to meditate in my sleep, because I need sleep. I slept little last night. Thank you, everyone. As always, I'm so happy that you come here and join me, and I really enjoy it. I love these conversations. I'm looking forward to this year having more ways of doing that. We'll find some fun ways, like Zoom calls, or like I've had requests for doing like retreats online. So we'll do something. Yeah, something will definitely happen. Until Thursday, again, remember, we're doing this to enjoy being here, and it's not that difficult when you stop going, oh, I don't like this, oh, I have this. Maybe you're sitting here now feeling relaxed and calm, and then you know you're going to go out and talk to other people, and like, oh, I can't stand it. Just go there and enjoy it. Don't carry on the idea that you need to be a certain way when you go and see them. So really enjoy being you for the next few days, and I'll see you again on Thursday. Thank you.